Alrighty. Hey guys, it's Friday, and we're doing that Friday thing once again from the man cave. I hope everybody's had a good week. It's been a pretty good week around here. The weather's been nice, and up until today, the weather's been maybe a little cooler than I had expected. So that's always a good thing. I got some fun cooking done this week, and here we are once again on a Friday. Uh, I'm ready to have a drink. Friday night's my whiskey or bourbon night. Russ, glad you could be with us. Glenn Morangi, a 14-year-old. That's a nice one. If you're having a drink with me tonight, let me know what you're having in the comments over here. Beth, Marcus, glad you could make it in. And tonight, like I said in the preview, I'm going to take questions from you guys, but hold off on those for now until we get through the first part. We're going to have a drink, and I'm going to show you some of the cooking that I've had going on this week, and then I'm going to start taking those questions. So Ireland, Owen's in Ireland. It's Saturday there already. Uh, Tonight, I'm going to slide back into this 12-year-old Knob Creek. Andy, glad you could be with us. This is really good. I am really impressed with the 12-year-old Knob Creek. I went back to the liquor store today to see if they had anything exciting, and I passed up something that I may regret. I'm not the world's biggest fan of George Dickel, but they had some George Dickel single barrel, and I've never tried that before. And if any of you have ever had George Dickel single barrel, let me know what you thought about it. It was a $60 bottle, and this week I left without buying anything. So let me see if I can get the lid off of this one. Textile Wolf coming in with us from YouTube. I'm not familiar with the Aberlour. How do you pronounce that? A 16-year-old. That's probably Scotch or Irish. A lot of the Americans aren't aged that long. The 1860 cask, 1816 cask. Good stuff. Okay. So cheers and happy early head to the weekend for everybody. Brian, glad you could make it with us. Russ is having a single malt. Yes, sir. Owen's having some rum. So, okay, I'm curious now if Owen is in Ireland and he's drinking rum. I'm curious what he's drinking. Owen, what kind of rum uh, is on your top shelf over there in Ireland? I'd be curious to know. It might be probably something I'm not familiar with, but an Irishman drinking rum. How about that? Mark and Laurie, glad you could be with us. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. I'd be curious. I'm not the biggest fan of rum. I do like cooking with it, and I keep some on hand here for that purpose. I like the flavor it imparts to some things, but I'm not a big drinker of rum. Let's see. We got about 36 people here with us tonight. That's pretty good. Scotch finished, and Sauternes cask. Okay. Awesome. I got a notice that you had sent that to me, and Stephen, I haven't forgotten yet. I've got these three sample bottles here that I'm getting ready to send your way of these three different iterations of the Jack Daniels for you to try. I'll be curious to see what you think, and I couldn't make up my mind what I was going to drink tonight, so I had this one sitting out here waiting to go, and I decided to have the Knob Creek instead. So maybe I'll break that number 27 gold open next week. I still want to sit down and do a side by side taste testing on the number 27, the Sinatra Select, and the Jack Daniel's Single Barrel. I'm going to have Tanya maybe set me up a blind taste test on that and let me pick out what I like the best. Because I'm still a big fan of the Single Barrel Select on the Jack Daniel's. John's having Buffalo Trace. So, alrighty. Well, enough whining about my whiskey. I'm going to show you guys some pictures. We're going to go through a couple things here. First, nope, I forgot something. Hang on. I got to bring the boss lady in here. Tanya, what are you having tonight?
Tonight, I'm having a French vanilla iced coffee.
French vanilla from the Jura?
From the Jura.
So what kind of coffee did you use?
Still using the Moo and Brews Mimosa Cream.
The Mimosa Cream. All right. Sydney's in the house with us. Mark, glad you could join us. Jameson, Matt's having some Irish whiskey. Steven sent me some Irish whiskey. Steven sent me some samplers that'll be here in a few days. I sent him some recently, and I sent Steven samples of the two, what do I call those? The Orcadian whiskeys from Orkney Island, the Highlander and the Scapa. I sent Steven some samples of those to try. Yeah, Freddie wants some of that coffee there, Tanya. Hook him up. I'm still hoping to get Freddie in here live with us.
Maybe Jeffrey, I'm using the Jura. It's the E8, Jeffrey, I believe.
Yeah, Tanya and I splurged here recently and bought a Jura, and I don't regret one dime of that. I really don't. That thing's amazing. Lagavulin. Yeah. Titus vodka. Hank's got some Titus. Okay. Germany. Okay, Matt's in Germany. So we do have some Europeans on here where it's Saturday already. So they're already into the weekend. The Germans and the Irishmen start drinking early on the weekends, right? Okay. Tanya and I noticed this week they made an announcement here, I think maybe just yesterday, that the European Union had opened up travel restrictions so Americans can now go to Europe. So Tanya and I were going to try to go to Europe last summer, and we couldn't make it happen. So maybe this coming summer we'll make a stop over there. Andy, that Winston-Salem is a long way, but let me tell you, stop in at Foothills and have them pour you some of the drafts. They've got really good brews at Foothills. Chris, I have not tried the Woodford Reserve yet. I just haven't. It's on my list, but I have got to drink down some of what I've got. I've since I'm new at this, I've bought more than I can drink, and I need to go through some of this without becoming an alcoholic. I'm still right now, I'm just doing this 1 drink a week thing, and I may up that to 2 just so I can try to get rid of some of what I've got. So Owen says he'll put us up for a night, Tanya.
That'd be good. Be lovely.
I won't let him do it for free. I'm going to make him let me cook if we shack up with an Irishman. Let's see. Let me go over there. I don't know how all Irishmen feel about Guinness, but I keep Guinness on hand for cooking, and I use Guinness where a lot of people use red wine, and it's a whole new ball game. So, all right, Tanya, we'll bring you back up here towards the end. So, Tanya's going to come out, and I'm going to bring up some pictures to talk about. I got lucky this week at my closest local grocery store, which is a Food Lion. I found some pork butts for 99 cents a pound. And I cannot walk by one of those without buying at least one. I typically stock up when they got 99 cents a pound on them. But right now, my freezer space is a little short. I've got to cook some of what I've got in there. But Tanya and I had been talking. Tanya does not eat pulled pork, but I was talking to Tanya about sliced pork, and she asked me what it was like. And I think Tanya might like sliced pork. So what I did was I bought a 10-pounder and decided that we were going to turn that into sliced pork. So it was actually 10 and a quarter pounds. I got it for just change over $10. And I brought that guy home and I unwrapped it and I seasoned it with a blend of my Man Cave Meals AP Mojo and Pork Mojo, just like I always do. And I wrapped that guy up tight in plastic, tossed it in the refrigerator overnight. This one got about 14 hours in the fridge. Got to season early. This is a habit that I've formed, and I just like the results. And when you take that guy out of the refrigerator the next day and unwrap it, this is what it looks like. You know, you can see that rub with the salt in it and whatnot, it's pulled a lot of liquid out of that, but it's also pulled a lot of salt into the meat, and it's gotten a perfectly good long opportunity for the rest of those seasonings that are in that rub to season the outside of that meat really well. So I fired up the Classic 3 and let the fireboard run the show for me, and I cook at 300 degrees. And since I'm cooking sliced pork and since I'm not making pulled pork, my objective on this guy was to pull it off about the time the meat gets between 180 and 185 internally. I was just shy of 185 when I pulled this off, and here's a little video clip. This was probably about four hours or 4.5 hours maybe into the cook. I don't wrap it when I'm going to do sliced pork. I just let it go, and you can see how the color is forming up on this butt. And here's about a half an hour beyond that. What's going on here? Stop. Okay. And then this is what it looks like when it was done. And I cooked this guy about 6 hours. It was right at about 6 hours. I put it on at 8 o'clock yesterday morning and took it off right around 2. And that's what we have. And I tried something a little different here. I would normally wrap that up in foil and rest it in my cooler for a couple hours, but I tried something different. I decided to do my rest in my Anova precision oven. So I fired up the Anova oven at 140 degrees with 100% humidity. And I just set that pan that you see right here in that Anova oven and let it rest in there at 140 at 100% humidity for about 2 hours. And that worked perfectly. What I did next is a little different. I took the pan back out. I covered the pan with aluminum foil and wrapped it up really tightly with aluminum foil, and I put it in the refrigerator. I chilled this before I sliced it. So when I got it back out today to slice it, this is what we have. This was perfect. What happens here is, I don't know if you can see this up here along these edges. I have a really nice smoke ring, but if you've ever taken a piece like this and chilled it, your smoke ring kind of dies out when you chill it. But when you reheat this, that smoke ring comes back to life. I'll have to show you a picture whenever I reheat some of this, but I took this and vacuum sealed it in my chamber sealer. I cut it into serving size pieces and vacuum sealed it, tossed it in the freezer. I'm gonna fix this for dinner one night this coming week and let Tanya try this, because I really think Tanya will like this. I think the taste and texture here will be something that she's going to like, and that's going to be a huge bonus if she likes this. So we'll find out soon if she does. And I've got a good bit of this left that I'm going to give to her parents to put in their freezer because I know they like it. So that's where we ended up with the pork butt. And I went back to Food Lion today. Tanya said she needed to pick up some stuff, and I said, well, I'm going to see if I can get another pork butt for 99 cents a pound. And this is what I found when I walked in there. And yes, that does say 13 and a half pounds. I've never cooked a butt that big before. Typically, those 10 to 10 and a half pounders are the biggest ones I find around here. And today when I went up there, they had this one in the case, and they had one that was a little over 12 pounds. So I said, what the heck, I'm going to buy that. This is going to be for a cooking video I'm going to do next week. I'm going to smoke this one and turn it into pulled pork, but I'm going to smoke it on the gas grill. I'm going to fire up the Napoleon Prestige Pro and smoke this guy on the gasser. That gas grill, you'll just have to see the video next week. It's got a smoker box that sits over one of the burner tubes. Produces pretty good smoke. It doesn't rival a charcoal grill for smoke flavor. It just doesn't. But it makes a better smoke profile than any electric smoker I've ever dealt with. But I get pretty good smoke for a gas grill doing this. So that'll be next week's video. The video I published today was chicken thighs. I wanted to take what I had learned from Harry Sue at his barbecue cooking class and kind of combine it with some things that I like when it comes to chicken thighs. And I didn't make a whole lot of photos, but this video is up. It's on the Atlanta Grill Company Facebook page and the YouTube channel if you want to look at the video. But I pulled the skin off of these chicken thighs and kind of trimmed it up and trimmed the thigh up to make a decent shape. And these thighs came from Publix, and they were air-chilled chickens, so I've got a skin here that's it did really well because it's air-chilled. But after I trimmed up the chicken thighs to fit or to make the shape I wanted, I seasoned both sides of them, and I used the Atlanta Grill Company Big Chicken seasoning blend on there, and then I just tossed the skin back on it and kind of tucked the skin around the edges. And then I put these guys, actually, there's a step. What happened here is I put these back in the refrigerator for an hour after I seasoned those to kind of let those guys dry brine a little bit. And then when I took them back out, I sprinkled a little bit more of the big chicken on top of the skin. And I had preheated the pellet Joe. I cooked on the pellet Joe yesterday, cooked at 275 degrees Fahrenheit. Oops, that's not supposed to be there. I resequenced these. Okay, set these on the grill and let these cook for about 45 minutes or so at 275, just like you see it here, uncovered in this pan. And after that 40 to 45 minutes, I took a stick of butter, tossed it in the pan, let the butter melt, and then I basted the top of the chicken thighs with the butter, and then we put the lid on. And I was cooking in this Le Creuset brazier that I have that I love so much. This is a phenomenal pan. And then we went for another 45 minutes. And with about 15 minutes to go, I dumped a bottle of the farm sauce into my little Finex saucepan and tossed it on the back side of the grill to let that farm sauce heat up. And then when the thighs were done, I took them off and I covered them with the farm sauce. I just kind of bathed them in the farm sauce. and toss those guys back on the grill for about 5 minutes or so to let that sauce set up a little bit. And the result of this was just off the hook. This is a little what I did was a little different flavor profile than you'd expect from barbecue chicken, because I didn't use a traditional barbecue sauce. This farm sauce is a horseradish based sauce, and it's really got a lot of flavor to it. If you haven't tried it, you should. And if you don't want to try it, you can do this same technique with any rub combination, any barbecue sauce combination you want, and you're going to get fantastic results. And the trick is just the technique. It's important to take that skin off, season under the skin, put the skin back on, let it air brine or dry brine in the fridge for a little while. But you can use regular barbecue rub and regular barbecue sauces, but the first stage of that cook, you want after that stage is over, those thighs should be temping around 160 to 170 degrees after that first stage of the cook. And then when you toss the butter in there, baste them with the butter, put the lid on it, and let them go another 40 minutes or so. They're going to be temping up around 200 to 205 internally when you get to that point. And these thighs can take that. That's not a problem with a chicken thigh. If any of you ever cooked chicken like that before, those thighs can take that, and they do very well. They're very tender, very juicy. They're almost pull apart at that stage. But I didn't include a photo of the bite test I did, but if you watch the video, this chicken skin had perfect bite through texture. I took a bite out of it and left a perfect bite mark on the side of the breast with the skin. It was just really, really good. I don't really know how to describe it much more than that. That came out extremely well. So I hadn't done a video on just chicken thighs in the past. I've done a lot. I've done some stuff. I've done quite a bit of stuff with whole chickens because that's typically how I prefer to cook a chicken. I've done some leg quarters because I really like a leg quarter. I think a leg quarter is a perfect protein for a meal where you've got the thigh and the drumstick together, and there's so much you can do with that piece. It's just really, really good. But I'm going to do some more stuff with chicken coming up. I don't know exactly what. I'm going to have to come up with some new things. I've done a lot of fun stuff with chicken in the past, and I'm not a fan of spatchcocking. I know that's a thing people like to do, but I don't know why. I'm just not a fan of that. I like to cook my chicken either whole or break it down into 8 pieces and cook 8 pieces individually. If you're going to cook 8 pieces individually, you can take each piece off when it's done. You don't have to worry about whether the breast is done or whether the leg's done or whether any piece of it's overdone, because you can use your thermopin to check each one of them, and when it's ready, you can take it off and keep it warm. Beth likes the pickle brine chicken. I did that. I did a video on that on Kamado Joe quite a long time ago, and I remember Bobby Brennan stuck his nose up at that one too. That's another video I did that he didn't like. But yeah, brining chicken in pickle juice is pretty good. You just got to be careful not to overdo it. If you leave it in there too long, it really makes a horrible mess. I need to make some pictures. You ought to see Tanya's dill. That hydroponic Mr. Stacky garden Tanya's got going out there is doing crazy well. I'll have to update you guys maybe next week on the grow bucket stuff and the hydroponic garden that Tanya's got set up, because it looks like a jungle on my back patio. So yeah, that's a good idea, Andrew. The lollipop chicken. It's not that hard to do. I've done it. I've not made video on it. It's not hard to do. It really takes about I could prep 6 of those guys in about a minute probably. So That'd be a good one. Have you ever seen the lollipop made out of the drumette piece of the wing, where they're little small ones? That's kind of neat too. You turn that piece into a lollipop as well, and you make like an hors d'oeuvre with it, or an appetizer of these little tiny drumsticks. It's really cool. I saw the technique done by Jacques Pepin and in his video that's been seen millions and millions of times on how to debone a chicken. If you look that video up, it shows you how to make that. Yeah, I like Brussels sprouts. No, I'm not going to try to love spatchcocking. That's not something I feel the need to do. I've done it. I've got videos out there on spatchcock chickens and turkeys, and I'm just not a fan of the technique. The Aero Garden. Yeah, my Aero Garden's sitting right behind me over here. It's turned off for now. I'm not going to fire. I'm going to fire it back up in probably September, to where I can have basil, oregano, and thyme fresh, and maybe a little sage fresh over the winter. But I use that to do that, and I turned it into a seed starter for all of my hot pepper plants and stuff. So pepper jelly glaze, that sounds good. All right, I've got a gadget this week that I want to run by you. I'm in the process of writing a review on this. I haven't finished with it yet because I just got it set up today. But if you guys remember a while back, I talked about a system that I bought that's an electronic sensor gas gauge for your 20-pound propane cylinders. So here's what that is. This is called the Mopica, and I stumbled across this when I was watching some guy's video on YouTube. This guy lives in an RV, and he did a video review on this thing, and it blew my mind because I've never seen any kind of gas gauge that was worth anything other than a scale to figure out how much propane is in your propane tank. But the guy did a review on this, and it sold me. I bought it immediately. I've had this thing for a couple of months, and I just got around to setting it up today. What this is a sensor that mounts to the bottom of your propane cylinder with some magnets, and I don't know how it works, but it's able to determine how much propane is in the tank. And this little piece right here is an LED monitor with lights on it that shows you the fuel level in the tank. And let me show you some more pictures here. This is a Wi-Fi bridge that allows you to be able to monitor those tank levels from anywhere. You don't have to be near the tanks. And this works pretty well, but after setting this up today, I don't recommend this one unless you have some real need to know what your propane levels are when you're away from home or away from your tanks. I think this is an unnecessary piece, and like I said, I may not use it. I may disconnect it because this thing has to be plugged in and running all the time, and I don't really want to set up a place to plug that in and leave it running all the time. But these are the two sensors I bought. I think I paid $85 for what you see right here, something like that. It's got two sensors. It's got the LED tank gauge, and it's got these little aluminum offsets. And what these do, these sensors they're not real thick, but they're thick enough that you don't have really enough clearance to put them on the bottom of your propane tank without them hitting the ground or hitting whatever surface you're setting the tank on. So what these little aluminum offsets do is they mount on this bottom ring to allow the propane tank to stand up just high enough. And you put 4 of them on each tank, and it allows it to sit up high enough where this guy can rest in there without hitting on the surface. And this particular model, it looks like it's off center, but it's not. The centerpiece sensor is right in here, and it needs to be mounted at the center of the tank, the center of the base of the tank, and it's held on there with two rare earth magnets. It's a pretty strong hold, and you get that mounted, and then you pair the guys up with this monitor, and you've got a visual cue here. You press the buttons, and it shows you how much fuel's in each of your tanks. I set up both of my tanks, and as you can see, one of them's about empty, one of them's about full. And there's an app that you download to your phone, and your app can connect to these sensors also, and it'll give you this kind of visual representation, a very, what seems to be very accurate representation of how much fuel is in your tank. And I just think that's cool, and I'm writing up my review on it, but my review won't be finished until next week because, like I said, I'm going to do that Boston butt cook on the gas grill. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this tank's capacity right when I start, and then hit it a few times during that cook. That cook is probably going to be, an 8-hour cook at 300 degrees on that 13-pound butt. It may even be a little longer. So we'll see how far that tank goes and how well that thing works. The other thing I thought about is my other tank that's showing is about empty. I probably shouldn't have mounted up on that because that tank I'm going to have to replace. That both of my tanks that I have here just went out of their service life just a couple of months ago, and the one that I have right now that's full is a trade-in. I took my out-of-date tank and traded it in on one of those Blue Rhino tanks, and I need to do the same thing on this other one that's about empty as soon as it's empty. And I don't like paying the Blue Rhino price, but I'm going to swap them out so I don't have to go buy new tanks. I like to take my tank and get it refilled because it's for about $12, $12 or $13, I can get a tank refilled and get 20 pounds of propane instead of paying $35 to get 15 pounds of propane in a Blue Rhino. So that's where that lands on the gadget. But I really think that's cool. So I know most of you guys are not gas grill cookers, but I'm sure some of you have gas grills, or some of you may be cooking on flat top griddles that are propane fired, or heck, some of you might even have an RV with a propane cylinder or a big propane cylinder on it. And if you do, this kind of thing might be nice for that application. Like I said, I learned about it from somebody who wasn't using a grill. They were using they had a couple of 40-pound cylinders, I think, on an RV. Those little metal offsets that raise that tank up a little bit are also only required on 40-pound cylinders or smaller. If you've got a larger cylinder than that, there's enough clearance under it where you don't need that. So that wraps up the things I wanted to talk to you about tonight. So we're about halfway through here, and I told you I was going to open up for questions. I'm going to let Tanya start us off with some questions. Okay, the first one we've got, I've been curious if you have a specific reason for not including sugar in your pizza dough recipe. Most of the other ones have sugar. First of all, I do have some recipes that use sugar. The recipes that don't have sugar are the ones that I'm going to cook at a temperature of 550 degrees or higher. If you put it doesn't take much sugar at all. If you're going to cook, like most of the time I'm cooking pizzas, I'm doing hot pizzas in my Alpha oven, and I'm cooking at 750 degrees or better. And if that dough's got any sugar in it, the bottom of that dough is going to scorch black, and it's going to be horrible. If I'm going to cook like a New York style pizza, or if I'm going to cook a pizza in the Kamado Joe where my deck temperature is going to be 500 to 550, and I'm going to do a 10 or a 12-minute long cook, I'm probably going to have like a 70% hydration dough, and there's going to be sugar in that. I'll put the ratio of sugar I'm going to put in there is going to be less than the salt So I'm going to do 1.5 to 2% sugar in a baker's percentage. So you're looking at I don't know, 10 grams of sugar or less. Uh, and also, you don't have to use sugar. You can use honey. You can use, I like to use this Lyle's golden syrup. You can put malt powder as a sweetener. Uh, and the sugar not only brings a little bit of sweetness to a pizza dough, but it also helps with the browning. And it helps so well with the browning, it'll turn black if you cook it like I'm talking about in the Alpha oven. If I bring that guy up to Neapolitan, you just can't put sugar in it. You can't put a lot of oil in it for the same reason. The oil some of the oils like olive oil can't handle that kind of heat very well either. That's why those doughs are flour, water, salt, and yeast, and not a whole lot more than that. So that's a good question. I hope I answered it, but it all depends on how hot you're planning to cook that pizza, is whether or not you want to put sugar in it. And if you're at 500 degrees, do that. And Owen wants to know what my favorite hot honey is. You're in luck because I think I have a bottle of it sitting right here. Uh, this stuff is incredible. It's called Red Clay Barrel Aged Hot Honey. Uh, this is amazing. Atlanta, of course, Atlanta Grill Company has this. I don't know where you might get this in Europe. This is made in Georgia, I believe. No, Charleston, South Carolina. I don't know. I don't know how to tell you where to get that. Uh, this is Mike's Hot Honey is another really popular one. Mike's cost about the same as this, but Mike's is nowhere near as good as this. Uh, but if you can get Mike's Hot Honey, I would go with that. That's really a decent hot honey, but I don't have a lot of experience with hot honeys, mainly these two, and I really like this red clay. So if you can get your hands on that, go for it. Wesley, what kind of chamber sealer do you have? My go-to chamber sealer here in the man cave right now is the JVR Industries VAC 100. I am totally all about that vacuum sealer. It's I've had several of them, and I must give full disclosure on this. That one was provided to me by JVR Industries, but that's the only one that's been provided to me. The three that I had prior to this one, I paid for. I started out with one that I actually still have sitting here. It's an eBay $350 clone, and it did real well. It's a pretty good chamber sealer. It works really well. There's just a few things I don't like about it, but it works great. After that one, I set it aside and I bought the Avid Armor chamber sealer that was like $5.99. That's a pretty good chamber sealer too. I like it almost as much as that $350 eBay chamber sealer, but that I had a little problem with the Avid Armor that I couldn't get resolved. I probably could have gotten it resolved if I'd have stuck with it and actually let them replace some parts for me. But the sealer bar would come up on that one, and then it wouldn't descend like it was supposed to, and that was giving me some trouble. So at that point, I went and bought another one. I sold that one, and I bought. I'm drawing a blank here on the brand name. It's the big popular brand name of chamber sealers. I don't remember the brand name. It's the most popular one out there now. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that, but they came up with a home use chamber sealer that was like $2.99. I bought that, and the thing was defective on arrival, and I bought it through Amazon, and because I bought it through Amazon, the company didn't want to deal with me directly. It wasn't Food Saver. Let me let me glance right here. Chamber. I'll find it here in just a second. It's VacMaster. VacMaster. And it was defective right out of the box. And they made me, I was going to have to send it back to Amazon. So I filed a claim with Amazon and just got a refund on it. And at this point, Darren Wilson over at the Fire and Water Cooking Channel hooked me up with the guy that does the JVR Industries. So I contacted him, and he agreed to send me one of these. And I did a video demo of it, a fairly in-depth video demo. It's on the Man Cave Meals YouTube channel if you want to look at it, of the JVR Vac 100. It's a super good vacuum sealer. I love everything about it. They've since released a newer model of that same sealer since I got mine. It's got a few new bells and whistles on it, but it's a little more expensive. It's $8.99, but it's one of those situations. Sometimes I still kick myself because I'm still learning the hard way. Yeah, but the buy once, cry once philosophy is good, and it really is going to apply here on these chamber sealers. If I had started out with something like this to begin with, it would have been the only one I had. But before I go on to Brian's question here, I highly recommend chamber sealer. I don't think you can go wrong on the chamber sealer. It's the right way to do things, and it'll seal anything, and it's a lot better quality seal than the suction channel sealers. Brian, my thoughts on beer can chicken are that I've done it about 3 times in my life, and I don't like the results. The problem I have with beer can chicken is fine if you don't put any liquid in the can or the stand or whatever. But what happens when that liquid gets hot and it's releasing that hot vapor up into the inside of that chicken? You're basically steaming the inside of that chicken, and I don't really like how that comes out in the end. I would rather, if I'm going to cook a whole chicken, I like to leave the cavity open where I'm getting air in there that's 400 degrees or hotter, where I'm getting some Maillard reaction and getting some caramelization even up inside the cavity. You don't get that on the beer can route, but I don't know. I guess in the greater scheme of things, beer can chicken is a preference. And if it's something you like, I don't want to discourage you from doing it because it's a perfectly valid way to cook a chicken. What I cannot come to realize on it is if you put beer or booze or vodka or fruit juice or pineapple juice or whatever in that can, none of that flavor is really imparting itself to the chicken. It's creating an aroma. You might smell some of it while it's cooking, but after the cook's done, that's about all I get out of it. I'm not really getting anything carrying forward from that process. But lots of people like to cook chicken standing up, and that's fine. And what I would recommend is if I would ever go back and do that again, I would buy one of the vertical chicken stands. It's a wire based one where it just stands the chicken up rather than putting a liquid underneath it. So try that. If you've cooked beer can chicken, I'd like to know what you think about it. What's your opinion on it? So the rock box, yeah, I'll probably do some stuff on the rock box. I want to try the rock box. Probably the next thing I'll do with the rock box, I need to do an experiment on it first. Is I want to use the rock box as a broiler because other than cooking pizzas, I don't think the rock box is good at much of anything else because it just cooks too hot, even on the lowest side. At the lowest setting, it's really hot in the rock box. But I think one of the things that I might try to do is a cast iron pan broil. I might do some salmon. I might take my cast iron pan and melt a little butter in it or something. I don't know if butter. I probably could get away with butter, and have the pan fairly cold. Not a hot pan, and crank that rock box up where I've got that big sheet of flame rolling up over the top, and put some fish in there and broil it. I really think that the rock box could behave a lot like a salamander does, like these. I don't know what the brand names are on these salamanders that you see out there are that are in the barbecue community that people are using to cook steaks with. Like there's several of them out there. But yeah, I'm gonna try some broiling in the rock box. Uh, so stick around for that. That probably won't be too far off. Gary wants to know how I came up with the Man Cave Meals name. That's a tough one because it's been so long now. Tanya helped me with that. I don't remember if Tanya was really on board with it. Let me bring Tanya back in here for a minute. Tanya, you
Yeah.
remember you remember when I was going through this trying to decide what I wanted to call my YouTube channel when I first created it?
Yeah.
Uh, did were you help me remember because this has been 9 years ago now. It's
Da,
been a
da,
while.
da, da, da. Imagine a world where there's a woman who is smart and hopelessly in love with a handsome, handsome man
All right,
who
don't
has
make me
failed to
don't make me
capture
kick
his
you back off
attention
again.
with her own cooking because my cooking sucks. John's a really good cook. So I kept trying to lure John into hanging out more with me. So I redid my basement and told him it was his man cave. And then he
Well,
started joking about man cave meals.
it's the audience that I was trying to bring in when I started my first YouTube channel was people who were like me, people who are cooking. And when I first started this, everything I was doing wasn't always on a grill. Most of it was, but some of the cooks I did back then were on the stove top or in the oven or on my outdoor stove that I was using at that time. But I just thought it was kind of appropriate. I didn't want to lock into something that was going to be barbecue and grilling because I wanted the ability to have a channel name where I could do more than barbecue and grilling if I wanted to. And it just so happens that, barbecue and grilling is the groove I slipped into, and it's where I live most of the time. However, Tanya knows that I do a lot of cooking that's not on the grill. You guys don't get to see a lot of that, but I cook on the stove top. I cook in my toaster oven. Tanya knows I love my toaster oven. I can work magic in my Breville Smart Oven. I could do a whole YouTube channel on that oven. Uh, Man, that thing's amazing. This Anova Precision Oven might be amazing, but I'm not sure that it's as amazing as my Breville. And I love that thing, and it's really good. So that I guess the Man Cave Meals. That's how I came up with it. I was just looking for a name. I told Tanya, I said I'm gonna make some videos, and I want to create a YouTube channel. And you know, at the time, I had no real goal of having an audience. I just didn't want to have a YouTube channel name that seemed lame or stupid or that was just my name. And the one of the things I've stuck with when I first started creating a logo to go along with that was the eat at your own risk, and that's something I've called a lot of flack for that. A lot of people, say that's stupid or why would you want to discourage somebody? But I think it's more of an ironic statement of you know this guy's a loose cannon cooking in his man cave. What you get may be good, may not be good, and all of that happens. I've made stuff that's been good. I've made stuff that's not been worth eating. So yeah, it's kind of an eat at your own risk. I'm not Gordon Ramsay, and I'm never gonna be Gordon Ramsay. And So when you're eating my cooking, you're eating at your own risk. But one of the things you can bank on most of the time is if I'm making a video, it's not something I've never done before. So you're not gonna be a guinea pig on a video cook.
No,
I'm
a lot of people don't realize how much work goes on behind the scenes. I mean, John does a lot of research, a lot of prep, and then he'll try it, and then he'll be like, yeah, this is great, or I think I could improve this, or back to the drawing board. So there's
yeah.
always a lot of work going on in the background.
There are some instances where I'll tell you I've never done this before, but I tell you that, and when the results are in at the end, if it's no good, you're not going to see the video. You just won't see the video. If it's good but needs some help, I may publish a video and I may tell you. I think next I'll say something like, next time I do this, I'm going to do this or do that. You want to pay attention to those things because that means that I think there's room for improvement on it right off the bat. I don't want to. I've never had any kind of objective to steer anybody wrong, so I try to be upfront if something I've made is not something I would do again. So that's the best answer I've got for you on that. Uh, Jeffrey says, I know you're a KJ man, but do you ever use a charcoal kettle? Well, Jeffrey, if you look back at Man Cave Meals, at some of the early videos I did, they were done on Weber kettles and the Weber Smoky Mountain. That that's what got me into making videos. Is about the time I bought the Weber kettle and the Weber Smoky Mountains when I started making video. And yes, I've got extensive experience on kettle grills. I don't have one at the moment, and the reason I don't is because I really love the PK grill. I've got the PK 360 sitting out there. I've got the PK Go portable PK grill, and those those two grills are like a Weber kettle on steroids. They're super heavy duty. Not that the kettles aren't. The kettles are excellent grills, and I can cook on a kettle. But I just like that. I like that heavy duty aluminum chassis or that aluminum capsule and the heft and durability. The PK grills will always get if you ever see me post on Man Cave Meals, they get that hashtag MCM really right stuff. And anytime you see me tag a post on Man Cave Meals with that hashtag, you know it's something that I think is incredible. And the PK grills get that. I don't have a problem with Weber kettles. I think they're excellent. And if I could only have a Weber kettle, I'd still be able to cook most of the things that I cook now, except for pizza. And the failure on a pizza cook on a Weber kettle is what prompted me to buy my first Kamado grill, and that's what launched me to where I am now. Is the Weber kettle's inability to do something that I wanted it to do. So, uh, PK. One more note on PK before we move on. There's a new one coming out. They've got an Aaron Franklin model uh, PK grill coming out. I think they're going to be calling it the PK 300. It's got a couple of things fixed. The original PK grill I didn't like. It had a couple things about it I didn't care for. That's why I got the 360 instead. And I think they may have fixed those issues that I didn't like on this Aaron Franklin model. And I talked to Gary at Atlanta Grill Company. They'll have these, and probably he said 6 or 7 weeks they're supposed to land. And I'm going to buy one of those as soon as they drop. And I'm looking forward to showing that when I get it. Okay. Hank wants to know my thoughts on marinating meat utilizing a chamber sealer to help it penetrate the meat. I think that's fine. If that's what you want to do, it will help. What these things do, the chamber sealers that have marinate function, is they pulse. You put your meat in, you put it in the marinade, and it'll draw a vacuum on that and hold it for a little while, and then it will let it then it will release it, and then it will do it again, and it'll do it a couple times. And what the effect that you get there is it will draw the marinade deeper into the meat in about 5 to 8 minutes time than you would get marinating it for several hours in the refrigerator. I think that's a neat concept. I've never done it. I've never bothered to try it, so I just don't know. I don't marinate a lot in liquid marinades, uh, and the things that I do marinate in liquids don't take well. My Tanya, my pork marinade, the molasses and cinnamon brine that I
Mm-hmm.
like to do for pork. That's one that I can marinate for 8 to 12 hours. I don't try to rush that one usually because one thing when I'm doing a marinade, there's one ingredient in that marinade that chamber sealer is not going to help, and that's the salt. Uh, the pulsing of the vacuum might pull the flavor elements of that marinade in just a little deeper into the surface of the meat. They're not going to go a lot deeper, but what it won't speed up is the osmosis that brings the salt into the deep part of the meat. So keep that in mind if you want to use a chamber sealer for a marinade. Marinade's not only flavoring the outside of the meat. If your marinade's got a salt in it, the only thing that's going to help that salt is time, and it takes time for that salt to work its way deep into the meat. So that's one of the reasons. That's the main reason that I don't mess with pressure or low pressure marinades. Beth's going to cook a picanha, but she doesn't have a rotisserie, so it can still be fabulous. It sure can. Cook it just like you would a steak. Cook it on the grate. I wouldn't bother and curl it up. Just let it be lengthwise and sear it on all sides, and then finish it over indirect heat. I would not try a reverse sear on something as thin as a picanha. Mm. Salt that guy in advance too. I don't know. I should quit saying that because I think all meat needs to be salted in advance. Corn on the cob. Tanya, tell them how I like. Tanya, tell them how I like to do corn on the cob because Tanya loves it.
I do love corn on the cob. Let me see if I can remember. It's on the grill. And I
I do
think
it two different ways.
you've done it so many different ways. You've done it, in the shuck, out of the shuck, um, with a little mayonnaise on it, I think.
I do
I
it
don't
two ways. The first way is what I call naked, and
I just eat it.
I'll take the corn in the husk, and I just toss it on the grill, and I toss it on a hot grill. If I'm cooking over direct heat, it's high direct rather than down close, or I cook it indirect at anywhere from 400 to 500 degrees, and I keep it turning to char up the outside of the husk. And once that thing's charred, it takes 25 minutes usually with that method, 30 maybe. Uh, I just peel the husk back, and the all the silks will brush right off after you've gone through that. That's one way I like to do it, and then I butter it or put a slather of whatever I might be doing on it. The other way I like to do it is pull the husk back, get all the silks off first, and then slather it with. I like to make a mayonnaise slather because it holds on there better, and do the exact same thing and let it cook in that. I'll take a mayonnaise and I'll make. I don't want to call it an aioli because it's not really an aioli, but I'll use mayonnaise and I'll put like a barbecue rub in it, some hot sauce. Really build up a big flavor bomb there and slather it all over that. And if you don't want to mess with the husks for that technique, you can take the husk off, trim your corn cob however you want to do it, and put that on it, wrap it back up in foil, and throw it on the grill. That's a lot easier than dealing with the husk in that situation. If you want the husk to hold on to eat it street corn style, you can leave it on there. But typically Tanya and I don't do that. I'll cut the ends off, and I like to use corn holders. Tanya likes to hold it by hand. So yeah, I'm a city boy.
He is a city boy.
Well, I'm a city boy until I moved up here.
Well,
And
it's funny because the big city where we're from is where John's from. And, it's all the city boys. And where I'm from, well, we're known for being a bunch of rednecks, pretty much. So
well,
it's so funny because I moved this big city boy to Redneck Central.
well, what size Dutch oven would you recommend for baking bread, Seb? If you're gonna do Dutch oven bread, uh, it's really going to depend on how big a loaf you want to make. If you're going to make a loaf of bread that starts out a single rustic loaf that's going to start out with like 500 grams of flour, uh, a 4 quart's a bare minimum. But I think you'd be better. Well, I don't know. A 4 quart would be really good, but uh, you're going to have to use parchment paper with a 4 quart one because uh, it's hard to get the boule into a Dutch oven because of the shape of it. If I'd have known this question was coming, I've got a piece of equipment. Let me find it right here, because what you need is not a Dutch oven. It's a Lodge makes something. It's called, I think they call it a double Dutch oven. Let me find this thing here. This is what you need. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Let me bring this up. This is what you need for if you want to do Dutch oven uh, bread. Get this thing, because what you're seeing here is a Dutch oven, but it's got like a skillet as a lid. And to cook bread on, I've got one of these. And what you do is what you see in this picture here, you invert it to where the skillet is on the bottom and the Dutch oven part becomes the lid. And that skillet, it's very easy to launch a bowl of rustic bread on there with a pizza peel or something, and then put that lid back on top of it. Get this. So that's a 5 quart model, but if your main goal with it's to cook bread, get that, because you'll never regret having that. Then you've got a skillet that you can use and a Dutch oven. I would highly recommend that, because I've done sourdough. I've done lots of sourdough loaves with one of these in my oven. So, yeah, I would say a minimum. If you don't want to do that, you want a 5 quart. I'd get a 5 quart Dutch oven. But if you're going to make loaves that start with a kilogram of flour or 2 pounds of flour, I'd get a 6 quart. I'd get one even bigger. So, all right. Peter wants to know how I learned to cook. First of all, let me tackle the cooking school thing. I've never been to an official cooking school. About Tanya, has it been 2 years or a year and a half ago that I signed up for Chef Todd Moore's classes?
I think it's been like 2 years.
2 years maybe. I'm taking some online classes. It's a go at your own pace thing, and it's a really great video instruction. It wasn't real cheap, but it's worth every penny I paid for it. It's called webcookingclasses.com if you want to look it up. It's Chef Todd Moore. He lives up in Baltimore, and he's really fun. I've learned that is the only what I will call official training I've had in cooking. I've got a lot of books. I don't tend to do so well with cooking when it comes to learning from a book. Cooking is a science, and I'm good with science. Cooking is also an art, and I'm not as good at the art side. And the thing that you can't learn from a book is how something should feel, or how something should smell, or what it should necessarily look like through the various cooking phases. And these videos that Chef Todd Moore's put together have helped me tremendously. My cooking game has increased dramatically in the last 2 years from the things I've learned there. And as far as learning about cooking, it didn't take me long uh, from the time I moved out on my own from when I was living with my mom and dad. It didn't take long for me to figure out that I could not survive on Totino's frozen pizzas and Kraft macaroni and cheese. That got old pretty quick. When I moved out into my first apartment one night, I called my mom and said, "Mom, I need your spaghetti sauce recipe." And she says, "Well, I'd love to give it to you, but there's no recipe." And I said, "What? Everything's got a recipe." Well, she says, "Well, I just know how to do it, and I don't always do it the same way every time, but I can tell you, I can get you started." So she got me started, and okay, here we are. I'm making homemade spaghetti sauce now, and it just kind of blossomed from there. And it wasn't long after that I cooked my first Boston butt. Uh, that's kind of an interesting story. I was sitting out by the pool at my apartment with some friends, and a buddy of mine says, "John, come up and have dinner with us. We've got a butt in the oven." I said, "What's a butt?" And he said, "It's a Boston butt." He says, "It's pork. You'll love it." So I had some of this, and they had cooked it like kind of like I did with this sliced pork that I showed you guys a little while ago. They had put it in their oven, wrapped it up. They had seasoned it with salt and pepper, put it in the oven, wrapped it in foil, and they cooked it. And they had a meat thermometer in it, and they took it out when it hit about 165 or 170 and sliced it. And it was really good. And I said, "How much does one of those cost?" And he said, "They're like 69 cents a pound." And that was the going rate for it. And this would have been 1992, 1991, 92 time frame. Been a while. Or no, it was before that. No, it was long in there. But so my cooking is all everything I've learned about cooking has been by the seat of my pants. It's been trial and error. If it didn't turn out good, I did something different next time. I've never had any formal training. I like to stand next to people that know what they're doing and try to take notes from that. I've spent a good bit of time watching. I've watched a lot of the cooking channel, uh, or not the cooking channel, Food Network. I've watched those guys. I like watching uh, diners, drive-ins, and dives. That's a great place to learn some great cooking technique. That show they don't give you recipes, but you can watch what they're doing, and it's not about quantities. It's all about technique and method. And that's the one of the very important lessons I've learned from Chef Todd Moore is once you know the cooking methods and cooking techniques, you can put anything you want together. You don't need a recipe anymore. And once you can break free from the recipe, that's when you really start being able to do things creatively. So that's kind of where I am and how I got here. Jeffrey wants to know, do I use grill grates? Jeffrey, I need you to check the post I made yesterday on the Atlanta Grill Company Facebook page. I did a little write up about grill grates. I love grill grates. I've got several sets of them. I've got something that works on just about every grill I have here. Uh, I need to do some more video content with them, I guess. I don't do, maybe haven't done enough, but I love the grill grates for direct heat grilling because it creates a little bit of a barrier between the fire and the food, and it helps create an even heating surface when the heat you have underneath it's not even. And if there's one thing that's crazy not good about a Kamado grill, it's how evenly heat's distributed when you're cooking over direct heat. Lump charcoal does not lend itself well to making an even heating surface, and it's even worse if you've got big chunks. That's one of the things I've learned pretty much to stay out of the big charcoal chunk debates anymore. But you can't get even heating with lump charcoal. And one of the things you might see some from me this summer is cooking on the PK 360. I like using briquettes because you can get even heat, nice hot even heat with briquettes. Briquettes don't burn as hot as lump charcoal, but let me tell you something. If you've got 2 or 3 layers of briquettes that are evenly spaced, evenly distributed, it's blazing hot. It's the heat, the radiant heat you get from that is not only about the surface temperature, it's about how deep it is. If you've got, a 3-inch deep pile of charcoal is way hotter than a 2-inch deep pile of charcoal. It's just, uh, but the grill grates tame that when you're dealing with lump charcoal, because those things are anodized aluminum, and that aluminum heats evenly. And even if it doesn't heat evenly, it distributes heat and conducts heat so well that the variations from one place to another are minimal. And the second thing I like about grill grates is when you're cooking close to the charcoal, when you've got grill grates, the grease that's dripping into the fire, if it's creating any flames, that flame is being toned down by the grill grates. There's some little holes there, and you may get a little flame through those holes, but it's not going to scorch whatever you're cooking. So, yeah, I use them, and I've got them, and I like them, and I recommend them. So,
Beth, I'm sorry, I forgot to switch my microphone from the Snowball to my laptop microphone. And Lily's
Lily's
head is right here, and the microphone's right here. Most of
Beth,
my academic videos end up with cat purrs in them.
that's Tanya's. Tanya is her human. Tanya is Lily's human. And Tanya, during the pandemic, when Tanya was working at home, her office was at the table where she's sitting right now. And you can't walk by there with Lily is always between Tanya and the keyboard.
Always.
And Tanya will be sitting there, her arms will be out, and Lily will have her head, and Tanya's in the bend of Tanya's arm, and she'll be sleeping, and Tanya will be struggling to type so she doesn't wake the cat up or doesn't disturb the cat. But yeah, that cat is so rotten that she smells bad. She stinks.
Well, I will tell you a funny story. So it's final exam time. And, I've been meeting with this one class 100% online. They're newbies. And I was getting ready to turn the mic off because, I was just going to be there hovering in case they needed me. One of the students popped up and said, Tanya, do you think you could leave your mic on so we could hear Lily? It really helps us. It makes us feel calm. And I was like, yeah, okay.
All right.
So,
well, we're running over.
I just tell people now, hey, that low purring diesel motor sound you hear in all my videos is Lily.
We got any more questions or not? I'll take one more and then we need to wrap up because we've been going over an hour here already.
Stephen, you have no idea. One time, I even wore a dress, pantyhose, and heels, makeup, and hair.
I remember that. Yeah. I cooked for you that night.
So
all righty. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. And I was hoping to have a guest this week, and I think I might be able to make it happen next week. Troy Smith from T. Roy Cooks on YouTube he's wanting to come on with me, and I had Troy's phone number, but it's been so long since I've talked to Troy on the phone. Troy's retired from his job since I talked to him last on the phone, and he the phone number I had was his work cell phone number. So I've been bugging somebody all week long that's got Troy's old cell phone. And I figured that out today. They finally sent me a text message back and said, "This is not Troy. Please stop calling me." So I sent Troy an email and said, "Troy, I think I've got your wrong number. What is it?" And he said, "Yeah, that's my old number." He said, "Here's my new one." He says, "I gave that phone back when I retired." He said, "Give me a call." So I'll call Troy first part of the week, see if we can get him on with us next week. And yeah, I'm still thinking about the T-shirt deal. I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. So we'll consider it. I appreciate y'all coming on, hanging out with me tonight. And until next week, y'all have some good cooking. Cook this weekend. We'll see you later.